And the first question to talk about today is one that you know you're going to get asked. Possibly as many, if not more times than you're going to get asked what your name is. How are you doing? Simple question. How are you doing? One idea that I want to give you, and one way you can answer it, is think ahead of time before your meeting about 2 or 3 different things, because more than one person's going to ask, 2 or 3 different things that have happened in that last week that were positive. Now, I don't care if the only thing you can come up with is on Wednesday night your kids went to bed without any hassle. Okay, I don't care if it's that, because I promise you, if you answer with that, that's going to be a conversation starter, because people are going to talk about that, right? If you got to go that far, hey, you know what? I had this excellent service at Brookfield's restaurant; they were great. If that's the only, great. Just think of 2 or 3, maybe 4 different things that you can come up with that are positive, and use that. What you don't want to do is be a negative Nelly. You don't want to give them the old country song joke. I lost my horse, my truck broke down, lost my customer, my husband's divorcing me, my wife left me, whatever your thing is. Yeah, we know those people that do it, right? And then 15 minutes later, you're walking going, well, I'm not going to give her any business today because, boy, she's in the dumps. So what I would like you to do is pair up with the person to your right. So let's go talk to the person to your right. You go that way, and I'll talk to Jane, so you're going to talk with Jim. And then have a discussion about how you would answer this question. And then what I'm going to do is afterwards, I'm going to select one person. You're going to be talking with Isabel over there, so it's going to be. And then we're going to ask one person to stand up and give us how they would answer that question. So we're going to talk for about a minute or so between yourselves. So we'll go this way. And so you're just going to talk about how you would answer the question. How are you doing? Give some ideas back and forth, some of the things that you might talk about, and that sound like a positive thing, just kind of going over it. So everyone paired up? So, okay. So I think that sort of sounds pretty good right now.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah. How am I doing today? I would say, well, for me, I would say, you know what? I had an amazing speech. All right. We're going to go ahead and bring it back this way. Now, how about if we have David Fredrickson stand up and tell us, we're at a networking meeting, and David, how are you doing?
I really had a good week. I'm a new grandfather. It's able to get together with my little grandson and see everything come together with him. They were having problems with it. Just ended up perfectly, wonderful time together. Had 2 cars break down. Got them both fixed for less than I thought. That was a wonderful surprise, a wonderful financial surprise. And got together with friends and had some real good things that we needed to communicate. It all worked out well. So it was just a great week.
Okay, you're an overachiever. That's excellent. So here's the point about what David did. So think about this concept, and this is what's really important. You felt good listening to what he said. You're at a networking meeting, and don't you want to feel good, right? And aren't you going to be more likely to refer somebody that you feel? I mean, that's you want to talk to them more about the grandkids and grandbaby and the cars. Even the car thing was a negative thing, but kind of a positive, yeah. So just think about how important that is. All right, the second question for today, and you know you're going to get asked this one. Everywhere, what do you do? Now, when somebody asks you what you do, and we'll talk about this probably in a different educational time, but one of the things you can do is this is a perfect opportunity to respond with your elevator pitch, right? Which is something that you can say. The reason why it's named elevator pitch, you can get in an elevator and say what you do in the time it takes to get to the next floor. 30 seconds, well, a couple floors, 30 seconds. And it should be very short and very simple, a couple of sentences. However, if you have not developed an elevator pitch, here's an idea. A very simple idea that you can do. Think about something that you are passionate about, because what do you do? Think about this. The person is probably trying to get to know you better. So answering with what your passion is an acceptable way to answer that. And for many of you, your passion really is what your business is. So if you want to change it up as well, not always give an elevator pitch, you can say whatever your passion is, right? So if your passion is skydiving, say that's what you do. Or if your passion is, I met a woman today, and her passion is the artwork on invitations for weddings. Loves it. Karen. Loves it. That's her passion. That's also her job. Right? So think about this. So talk amongst yourself. Think about what your passion might be. Same partner. And then we'll again select somebody to stand up and give us the answer to that question. Or it could be your elevator pitch, whichever. And then we'll talk about that for a minute or so. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring it back here. Of course, this is also going to be a point as a little side note. The person's going to have to be able to really grab control of a meeting after that happens. You know how some people can't do that? They can't take control of a meeting after, that's going to be an issue. Yeah, exactly. So I have to be conscious of that. Okay. So, is there a volunteer for somebody that would like to tell us how they would answer that question? I mean, I'll pick one, but you were first. Please stand, Mr. Louie, and tell us the answer to the question of, David, what do you do?
I'm passionate about paying it forward. So I love to help people in small businesses, so I help them with their small business. That's what I do.
I like it.
And I was really excited to give mine because people have asked me that question all the time for the past year or so. I've been doing
This is true.
I never know what to answer. But I love the fact that you said, explain what you're passionate about. And it's like, whoa, because Marty and we talked about this the other day, and it's like, yeah, that's really what I'm passionate about.
That's a really good point, David, because you have struggled with that for a very long time, and you've verbally stated that for a very long time, that you don't know and you're searching for your why, and that's a really good point. So you just remember that what do you do can be, it could be, maybe you're doing something right now for the last 3 months that's different, so change it up. There are many ways to answer these questions, so the point of this is just to give on one way, because the question will come up again, then it'll be a different way to answer it, so it's multiple ways. This is just to make sure that we start to think about how we're going to answer these questions and how it sounds when someone stands up and says something, or David said, wow, how did that play out? Oh, now I need to change it my way. The third question for today is, and this I thought was really interesting because this might happen more when you're in a one-on-one. This one is, why do you do what you do? Right? Now, usually when someone is asking this question, they are really trying to get to know you better, right? As Jim was talking about. They're trying to find out sort of what you're involved in. And this is the perfect time for you to answer with a personal story, possibly about why you got involved in doing what you do, or a personal story that really encapsulates a really good point. I mean, in the story, it tells why it is that you do what you do, right? Your personal story says, God, I really do this because I saw somebody that needed help, and I helped one time, and it just really, I just loved it, and I wanted to continue. This is a great time to really develop that relationship because people remember stories. Now, important point here is you want to keep it very short and very simple. You don't want to ramble. So go ahead and talk, pair up again. All right, we're going to go ahead and select somebody to stand up. I want to hear our very own.
Actually, what I do is kind of by accident, because when I moved out here, I didn't have any plans of being VP of Relations for Successful Thinkers. I was just going to travel with Jim and help him, support him, and be there for him. But things happened in the company to where it was needful for me to step up and take over that position, and that allows me to be able to work with all you guys and help you open chapters, get you certified, work with the Showcase of Speakers people, and help Jim as well. Because I was a founding member since it started back in 2009, we just felt like it was a really good fit. So here I am to serve. All right.
And that was pretty short, pretty simple, right? Kind of a little bit of a story. Now, one of the things as we go through, and again, this was on the spot, but if you were thinking about the fact that you're going to get asked this question, and now that you've said it out loud, if you had to do it again, you might add something here, take something out there. And that's the purpose of asking these questions and hearing other people talk about them and then talking about them amongst yourself, is because as you say them, just like when you're doing a speech, the first run is different than the eighth, because the eighth time you're going, wow, that didn't really sound so smooth. This is better, or somebody else says something in the time that you're practicing, you add it in, and that's the point of this, is to just get used to knowing that these questions are going to be asked, and how you answer them is giving a perception to the people you're talking to. And these are people that you're trying to network for referrals and or clients. So you want to give a good perception. And I mean, God, it's like getting the test. You know the questions. I mean, if I was in school and I could get the questions ahead of time, what would I do? I'd have it all planned out, memorized specific. That's what this is. You know you're going to ask, what do you do? How do you do it? Why do you do what you do? You know you're going to get asked those questions. Think about the answers ahead of time. So now we're going to move into the speeches. Yes?
So I love the fact that you gave some suggestions on how you ought to consider how you would answer that. But one of the things I've wondered on each of those questions is how long should you talk? I mean, in those things. I mean, because you did mention you don't want to ramble. So how?
I would say 30 seconds to a minute is probably a good, rough sort of idea. I would say that was 45 seconds to a minute. That's probably about right there.
And ask a redirecting question back to them. Make sure that it is a conversation, not a monologue.
You go 2 to 3 minutes. If you go 2 to 3 minutes, you're rambling.
Yeah.
You're rambling.